Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Kengan Ashura vs. Baki. Now, when it comes to fighting anime on Netflix, there are two major series that managed to get a ton of attention and managed to give us some really bloody and really satisfying fights. Those series are, of course, Baki and Kengan Ashura. So naturally, this kind of crossover felt like it was only destined to happen. So, especially since it seems very likely that both series could take place in the same universe. So that's why this hour-long crossover plays around with this idea. Sort of. Basically, both Katahara and Tokugawa, the tournament organizers of both series, get together to have a drink, and they decide that the two series of fighters are that three fighters from both series are going to fight each other, both mostly for their amusement and mostly for a friendly competition, because both Katahara and Tokugawa just love fighters in their arenas. For the Baki side, we have Jack Hanma, Kaoru Hanayama, and of course Baki himself. And on the Kengan side, we have Paing Yoroizuka, Ohma Tokita, and Raian Kure. And therefore, we have three fights in the series, in this movie, while there are other fighters from Baki and Kengan Ashura who just sort of provide commentary and have their own funny little subplots throughout the special, such as Biscuit Oliva and Julius Reinhold having an arm wrestling match at one point, and Adam Dudley and one of Kaoru Hanayama's subordinates trying to test who has to go to the bathroom faster. Those are funny moments all the same, but really the main focus is the fights, as it should be when it comes to these crossovers. And this is why I'm glad that this special used the Baki art style, because even though I like Kengan Ashura, the CGI of that series takes a while to get used to. It works well enough when it comes to the martial arts techniques of that series that tend to require a lot of movement to make them look good, but the Baki series just looks better when it comes to everyone's designs. I don't think the Baki characters would have looked that great in CG, is what I'm saying. Thankfully, the Kengan Ashura characters look pretty good in Baki's art style. And that's definitely the case when it comes to the fights as well. Most of the fighters use the special moves that you'd be familiar with if you watched both series. And the first two fights at least, have the endings that I figured that they would have. Especially since the series doesn't try to make either Baki or Kengan's fighters look weak. Even when one of Baki's fighters wins, or when one of Kengan's fighters wins, it feels like it makes sense based on who's fighting in the match, if you understand what I mean. Now, this does mean that certain characters of Kengan Ashura and Baki only get brief cameos here and there, but there's only so much you can do with one special. So I'm glad that we actually got three fights out of it instead of just one. Plus, there is a funny bit at the end that seems to suggest that perhaps Yujiro Hanma would be able to face Gensai Kuroki. And based on the fact that both Yujiro and Gensai are basically two of the strongest characters in their own universes, a fight between them would be interesting, especially since I really love Gensai's fights in Kengan Ashura, but we'll have to see if there'll be another special for that to happen. And some people might be a little cheesed off that the final fight does have a bit of a cop-out ending that doesn't really decide a definitive winner. But there have been plenty of fights in the Baki franchise that have ended without a definitive winner themselves. So I definitely see this less as a serious competition and more like a fun little crossover that acknowledges how ridiculous both series are, but also how fun they both are when it comes to providing over-the-top martial arts fights that everyone can enjoy. While I don't think it's the best of either series, I do think that it's a fun crossover that fans of both should get into. That's why I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.